Imagine this. It's 1971. You are part of the Perron family. You have just bought a beautiful old farm in Harrisville, Rhode Island. The house is huge with tall windows, wooden floors that creak, and that charm of past times. The children are running around, the dog is wagging its tail, and you already see yourself baking cakes in that rustic kitchen. Everything seems perfect, doesn't it? But then, as the seller hands you the keys, he leans closer and whispers, "Leave the lights on at night." Strange, you think? Maybe just some old farmer's trick. You laugh and forget about it. However, that was a big mistake. This is not just a house. This is a place where the boundary between the living and the dead is not just blurred, it is shattered into pieces. Welcome to the true story of the Conjuring House, also known as the Old Arnold Estate. Maybe you have watched the movie The Conjuring and thought it was just a good horror story. But this is not fiction. This is reality, and reality is much, much scarier. During the next video, I will take you through the dark truth of this house. We will talk about the Perron family, who lived here in the 70s and experienced something that no one would wish even on their worst enemy. We will talk about Bathsheba Sherman, a woman who is said to have been a witch and whose spirit still haunts this place to this day. We will explore a history full of tragedies, suicides, mysterious deaths, and whispers that still echo through the walls. And yes, there is evidence, recordings, photographs, testimonies of people who swore they would never set foot in this house again. But a warning, this is not a story for the faint of heart. If you think you can handle the truth, the real, unfiltered truth, stay with me. Because once you enter the Conjuring House, there is no turning back. Ready? Let's go. To understand why this house has become synonymous with horror, we must go back, way back. The Conjuring House, or Old Arnold Estate, is not just any building. It was built in 1736, at a time when America was still a wilderness full of secrets and dark stories. It sits on 8 hectares of land in Harrisville, Rhode Island, surrounded by forests that look like they are hiding something you don't want to find. The first owners were the Arnold family, and that's where the problems began. This was not a happy house. Over the years, people who lived here died in strange, often violent ways. One woman hanged herself in the barn. 2 children drowned in a nearby creek under suspicious circumstances. And then there's the story of Bathsheba Sherman, a woman who, according to local legends, brought true evil into this house. Bathsheba lived in the 19th century, married to a farmer who owned this land. They say she was a witch, that she sacrificed a baby in some satanic ritual and cursed anyone who would take over her house after her. When she died in 1885, it is said that her body turned to stone. Creepy, isn't it? Historians claim these stories are likely exaggerations, but the local people? They swear it's true. And when you hear what happened here later, you start to wonder, maybe there's something to those whispers after all. Before the Perron family arrived, this house already had a reputation. People talked about strange sounds, footsteps in empty rooms, a child's cry in the middle of the night, even shadows moving without a source. Some believed that the ghosts of the Arnold family were still there, trapped within the walls. But no one expected what would happen when the Perrons stepped through the door. After months of terror, the Perron family was on the verge of breaking. Carolyn was losing her mind, the children were afraid to sleep, and Roger was helpless to protect his family. That's when they heard about Ed and Lorraine Warren, a couple already known for facing the darkest forces. They had nowhere else to turn, so they called them. And trust me, what the Warrens found in this house was something even they didn't expect. From the moment Lorraine stepped into the house, she felt the weight. Later, she said, "The air was heavy, like something was choking you. I felt the presence of something evil, something that didn't want us there." Ed, the more practical of the two, immediately started setting up equipment: cameras, audio recorders, crosses. But even he couldn't deny that this was more than just an ordinary haunted place. On the first night, while setting up equipment in the basement, the recorder captured something chilling. A voice, deep and raspy, repeating, "Leave me alone." Ed checked the recording 3 times, thinking it was an error. But no, the voice was real, and it wasn't alone. Throughout the night, they heard footsteps, bangs, even a child's cry coming from the walls. And then Lorraine saw her. Lorraine was standing in the kitchen when she felt the cold. She turned around and saw her, Bathsheba Sherman, an old woman in a tattered dress, her face full of rage, floating above the floor. "I saw her eyes," Lorraine said. "They weren't human. They were black, like bottomless pits. She stared at me and I knew she hated me." Bathsheba wasn't just a ghost. She was a demonic force, bound to the house through some dark past. Ed and Lorraine quickly realized this wasn't an ordinary case. It wouldn't be enough to simply remove the ghosts. They would have to face something much worse. Carolyn showed them a diary she had found in the basement, and Lorraine, just by touching the pages, felt a wave of fear. This was her house, she said. Bathsheba believed it still belonged to her, and she didn't want to share it. Ed decided to perform a cleansing of the house. He placed crosses on every door, began reading prayers, and commanded the spirits to leave. But Bathsheba didn't want to listen. During the ritual, things started moving